I stand outside for an hour and a half and just waiting and waiting for somebody to come out so I could go in.
What's that like?
Cold, really cold.
Welcome to Street Stories Homeless. This is Street Stories Homeless, where we rip the veil off stories too real to ignore. Alaska, a frozen giant spanning 663,267 square miles, hides a crisis that'll stop you cold. In 2023, over 2,000 people faced a single night without shelter, a number that's climbing despite $45 million in state aid. Anchorage's streets, chilled to 12 docks brim with tents as shelters turn away hundreds. How does a land of endless horizons abandon its own? What's fueling this silent disaster? Street Stories Homeless is diving deep, exposing the raw pulse of Alaska's forgotten. These aren't stats, they're heartbeats, shivering in the dark. Hit like, comment, and subscribe to uncover the truth with us. The stories are calling. Will you listen? One, a glimpse into the cold. Close your eyes and imagine a winter night in Anchorage, where the air bites at 15 dec across the city's sprawling 1,944 square miles, a place where the cold doesn't just chill, it pierces. You're curled beneath a flimsy tarp, the wind shrieking through the seams, your only shield a threadbare blanket that feels more like a whisper against the frost. Your breath clouds in the air, each exhale a fleeting ghost in the darkness, while your fingers throb, numb from the relentless freeze. This isn't a scene from a novel, it's the stark reality for hundreds of Alaskans without a home, their lives a testament to a courage most of us can barely fathom. These are the stories we uncover at Street Stories Homeless, where we dive into the heart of human endurance. In Anchorage, the largest city in Alaska with nearly 290,000 residents, the homeless population faces nights that test the limits of survival. The distant glow of warm homes across the city's skyline feels like a cruel mirage, taunting those who lie awake, shivering in makeshift shelters. Their resilience grips your soul, a reminder of how fragile the line is between comfort and struggle. Every frozen dawn they face is a victory, a quiet defiance against a world that often looks away. At Street Stories Homeless, we're here to amplify their voices, to hold space for the strength it takes to endure. This is just the beginning of their story. Join us as we step deeper into Alaska's icy embrace. Two, why Alaska? Alaska's vastness is a marvel that captures the imagination. 663,267 square miles of rugged beauty, home to just over 730,000 souls, making it one of the least densely populated states in America. Yet, in this sprawling frontier, a hair-trending paradox persists. In 2023, over 2,000 people were counted as homeless on a single night, a number likely dwarfed by those hidden in the state's remote corners. Why does this land of endless horizons struggle to shelter so few? At Street Stories Homeless, we're diving into this enigma, unraveling the unique forces that make Alaska's homelessness crisis unlike any other. Picture the state's extremes, from Denali's 20,310-foot peak Durrisi Bering Sea. Alaska's geography is both breathtaking and unforgiving. Vast wilderness isolates communities, with towns like Unalaska, 800 miles from Anchorage, unreachable by road. For someone without a home, this isolation is a trap, help is scarce, and the nearest shelter might be a plane ride away. The state's mystique as a land of opportunity lures dreamers, seasonal fishermen, adventurers, veterans chasing a fresh start. But when jobs vanish or savings dwindle, the dream sours. In rural areas, heating costs, averaging $500 monthly in places like Nome, on the edge. Natural disruptions amplify the crisis. In 2022, flooding in western Alaska displaced 1,200 residents, leaving families homeless overnight. High costs, like $6 for a gallon of milk in Bethel, stretch budgets thin. Street Stories Homeless seeks to understand why this vast land, with 1.8 million acres of public land, can't provide refuge for all. What makes Alaska's struggle so distinct? Three, the unforgiving winter. In Fairbanks, where winter temperatures plummet to an average of 10 degrees across its 32 square miles, the cold is not just a season, it's a formidable adversary that tests the limits of human endurance. For Alaska's homeless, winter transforms survival into a daily odyssey where every gust of wind across the city's snow-draped streets feels like a personal challenge. Shelters like Brother Francis in Anchorage, offering just 240 beds for a population of 290,000, are overwhelmed, leaving hundreds to seek refuge in fragile tents along the edges of cities like Juneau, which spans 2,701 square miles. These makeshift shelters, battered by howling winds, offer little protection against the elements. Survival demands creativity and grit. Layers of scavenged blankets, often donated by local charities serving 1,000 monthly, become lifelines, while hand warmers distributed at Fairbanks' 50 warming stations provide fleeting warmth. In rural areas like the Yukon Delta, home to 25,000, shelters are scarce, and propane heaters costing $80 per tank are a luxury few can afford. Daylight dwindles to a mere 4 hours in Barrow, casting a psychological shadow that saps morale. Yet resilience shines through. Consider Emily, a single mother in Fairbanks who, after losing her job, sheltered her daughter in a tent, using donated coats to fend off the chill. A church's warming center, serving 200 weekly, became their haven, and now Emily volunteers, helping others find hope. At Street Stories Homeless, we honor these stories of courage, where the human spirit glows brightest against the darkest, against coldest nights. 4. Economic pressures. Alaska's economy is a dazzling paradox, a land awash in oil, pumping 3.5 billion barrels annually, yet shackled by sky costs that squeeze the life out of its people. In Anchorage, where 290,000 souls call home, rent averages a steep $1,200 a month, a figure that feels like a punch to the gut for many. A simple gallon of milk in Nome, a town of 3,600, can set you back $6, a price that stings like the winter wind. Jobs, especially in fishing or tourism, which employ 15% of the workforce, are as fickle as the seasons, blooming briefly before vanishing, leaving workers stranded in a financial tundra. The state's isolation is a silent thief, with 90% of goods arriving by sluggish barge or costly plane. Prices soar beyond reach. In the Yukon-Koyukuk region, home to just 5,588 residents, unemployment often doubles the state's 4.5% average from 22, a statistic that looms like a dark cloud over rural families. Climate shifts wreak havoc too, disrupting subsistence hunting, a lifeline for 25% of rural Alaskans, leaving empty tables and unpaid rents. For single parents, or elders in places like Dillingham, population 2,300. A single $300 repair bill can tip the scales toward eviction. This economic tightrope is a relentless grind where wealth pools in distant pockets, leaving the vulnerable to slip through the cracks. At Street Stories Homeless, we see these struggles not as numbers, but as human dreams deferred, pushing people toward the unforgiving streets. Five, the Indigenous Experience. In Alaska, where 229 tribal communities weave a rich cultural tapestry, Alaska Natives, making up 15% of the state's 730,000 residents, face a heartbreaking reality. They account for over 40% of the homeless population. This stark disparity, felt across the 147,000 square miles of native lands, stems from deep historical wounds. Colonization and forced relocations, like the 19th century land dispossessions, fractured families and eroded traditions. In villages like Bethel, home to 6,300 souls, homes often lack running water or reliable heat, with 20% of residences overcrowded, sometimes cramming 15 people into a single shack. This pushes young adults to urban centers like Anchorage, where 44,000 natives seek opportunity, but often find themselves on the streets, disconnected from their roots. The struggle is compounded by cultural gaps. Urban shelters, serving 1,200 monthly in Anchorage, rarely provide space for traditional practices. Think preparing smoked salmon, a staple for 80% of native diets, or holding ceremonies that ground identity. Yet, resilience burns bright. In Juneau, tribal programs dish out 1,200 meals monthly, fostering community through storytelling and dance. Meet Mary, a Tlingit elder who weathered years in Anchorage's shelters. A tribal housing grant gave her a home, and now she teaches youth to weave cedar baskets, threading hope into each strand. Her story at Beacon on Street Stories Homeless shows how culture anchors survival. How does it feel to imagine losing your home and heritage at once? Alaskan natives fight not just for shelter but for identity, a legacy unbroken in this vast wildland. Six, mental health and addiction. In the vast, quiet expanse of Alaska, where the isolation of places like Kodiak Island, home to 13,000 souls across 3,595 square miles, can feel like a weight on the heart, mental health challenges cast long shadows. 1 in 5 Alaskans report struggling with their mental well-being, a silent burden that often intertwines with homelessness. The solitude of rural life, where the nearest neighbor might be miles away, can deepen feelings of despair, making each day a quiet battle. For many, this struggle is compounded by addiction, particularly to alcohol, which touches 7% of the state's population. In Anchorage, shelters like Brother Francis, serving 1,000 clients annually, report that 60% of those they help grapple with trauma or substance use, including a significant number of Alaska's 70,000 veterans whose past experiences linger like echoes. Access to help is a distant hope. Anchorage's main rehabilitation facility, supporting 1,000 people yearly, has waitlists stretching months, while in the Aleutian Islands, with just 5,200 residents, outreach programs are nearly non-existent. Small communities like those in the Bristol Bay region foster tight bonds, but also stigma, where seeking help can feel like shouting your struggles to the wind. Yet stories of hope emerge. Daniel, a veteran in Fairbanks, once lost to addiction after his home slipped away, found a lifeline through a mobile outreach team delivering 200 counseling sessions monthly. Now housed, he mentors others, his voice a beacon. Street Stories Homeless shines a light on these journeys, asking how might isolation shape someone's path to healing. Seven, community solutions. In the heart of Alaska's icy expanse, where hope could easily flicker out, communities are kindling solutions with fierce determination. Anchorage, home to 290,000 souls, leads with the Housing First model, where places like Carluck Manor have sheltered 150 people with no strings attached, offering not just a roof but a fresh start. Imagine the warmth of a key in hand after years on the streets. It's a spark of dignity. In Fairbanks, with its 32,000 residents, tiny home villages are sprouting, housing 50 pioneers in cozy, low-cost havens. These pint-sized homes, dotting the city's 32 square miles, whisper a bold idea: solutions can be simple yet profound. Mobile outreach teams, braving 20 deg winds in Juneau's 2,701 square miles, deliver blankets and hot meals to 5,000 yearly, their tireless steps weaving a safety net across the snow. Funding, though, is a constant hurdle. Alaska's OR revenue, peaking at $2 billion in 2022, ebbs and flows, leaving programs scrambling. Yet grassroots grit shines bright. In Homer, population 5,500, churches transform into warming centers, offering 100 cots monthly, while Soldana's 4,200 residents see volunteers stitching sleeping bags from scraps. Anchorage's 2023 cold weather plan added 200 emergency beds, but demand surges on. But could tiny homes reshape Alaska's future? This patchwork of compassion, from volunteers to visionaries, keeps hope alive, bridging us to the climate's role in this saga. Eight, a heartfelt reflection. Close your eyes and imagine a small child, maybe 6 years old, in a dimly lit shelter in Cordova, a coastal town of 2,200 souls nestled against Alaska's rugged shores. The thermometer outside reads a chilling 10 dec, and the wind howls through the cracks of the weathered building. This child, with wide, searching eyes, clings to a donated coat, its frayed edges barely covering their trembling hands. They don't grasp why they're here, why the warmth of a home is a distant memory. All they know is the cold that seeps into their bones and the quiet fear in their mother's voice as she whispers reassurance. This image burns into your heart, doesn't it? It's a visceral reminder that homelessness in Alaska isn't just a statistic, it's a human crisis that ensnares the most vulnerable. In 2023, over 300 minors were counted among the homeless in this state, each with a story that demands our attention. These children, bundled in borrowed layers, carry dreams no different from any other, dreams of safety, warmth, and a place to call home. What stirs in your soul when you picture this child's face? At Street Stories Homeless, we believe this reflection is a call to action, urging us to see the humanity behind the numbers and to act with compassion. 9. How you can help. Imagine being the spark that lights up someone's darkest night in Alaska's freezing wilderness. But you have the power to change lives, and it starts with small, heartfelt actions. In Anchorage, where 290,000 souls navigate the cold, nonprofits like Covenant House support 500 homeless youth each year with warm beds and hope. Your donation, even $10, can buy a sleeping bag, wrapping someone in warmth against the 15-duck chill. Or if you're nearby in Wasilla, where 200 meals are served weekly at local soup kitchens, volunteer your time. Picture the smile on a stranger's face as you hand them a hot meal, a moment of connection in a 9,000-person town. From afar, you can still make waves. Mail gloves or socks to shelters in Haines, a coastal community of 2,500 where winter winds bite hard. Back crowdfunding campaigns for tiny homes in Fairbanks, which house 30 people in innovative, low-cost shelters. A single share of this video on Street Stories Homeless can amplify these voices, reaching thousands. Advocate for affordable housing policies vital for 10% of Alaska's renters facing eviction. Push your favorite brands to sponsor aid. Corporate dollars stretch far, touching 1,000 lives annually. Every step counts. Will you be the one to offer a lifeline today? Ten. Closing thoughts. This journey through Alaska's icy streets has been a tapestry of raw human experiences, woven with threads of struggle, resilience, and unyielding hope. From the frost-bitten corners of Anchorage, home to 290,000 souls, to the windswept villages like Aniak, where 500 residents cling to community, we've walked alongside those whose lives defy the cold.
Minced pork, a little like a jalapeno, water, yeah, okay, and water, okay.
At Street Stories Homeless, we don't just tell stories, we hold up a mirror to humanity, reflecting the delicate balance between vulnerability and strength.
Yummy chocolate and yeah, I got some sweet in the car.
Each tale, from a mother's quiet courage to a veteran's hard-won redemption, pulses with the heartbeat of survival.
Enjoy. God bless you.
Thank you.
It's like ground pork. It's like a Thai dish, okay? It has jalapeno. ground
These
pork.
narratives linger, don't they? They challenge us to see beyond statistics, to feel the weight of a child's trembling hands in Cordova's 10-dog chill, or the warmth of a shared meal in Kenny's outreach centers.
This is ground pork, okay, with some jalapeno, a little bit, not too. Okay, sister.
What stirred your soul most? Was it Emily's fight to keep her daughter warm, Mary's woven legacy, or Daniel's journey from darkness to mentorship? Your thoughts fuel this mission, so drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe to keep these voices echoing.
Okay, yeah, that's it, Barney. Okay, take care, God bless you.
Street Stories Homeless thrives on your passion for untold truths. The road doesn't end here. Alaska's stories are but a chapter in a global saga of human endurance. Join us for the next adventure where the world's hidden corners wait to whisper their secrets. Let's keep shining a light together.
Yeah.
Welcome to Street Stories Homeless. This is Street Stories Homeless, where we unearth the raw, unspoken truths buried in city shadows. Vancouver, a dazzling gem of Canada's west coast, hides a heart-wrenching reality. It's grappling with one of the nation's most severe homelessness crises. Staggeringly, the city pours over $100 million annually into addressing this epidemic. Yet the streets are home to 4,821 souls, a 32% surge since 2020. In a city where the median home price soars to $1.2 million, tents crowd sidewalks, and families shiver under tarps, mere blocks from luxury high-rises. How does a place so rich in beauty and wealth abandon thousands to the cold? Why do the numbers climb when millions are spent? Picture this: children, elders, and dreamers all locked out of a future by a merciless housing market. Join us as we dive into Vancouver's hidden despair, exposing the stories that demand change. This is Street Stories Homeless. Stay with us to witness the truth. One, the unseen crisis in Vancouver streets. Vancouver, home to 662,248 people in 2023, shines as a beacon of prosperity, but its streets tell a grimmer tale. Homelessness here is not just a statistic, it's a human tragedy unfolding daily. In 2023, the city's homeless count recorded 2,420 individuals without homes, 605 of them unsheltered, living in tents or makeshift shelters. An unofficial 2024 estimate suggests this number may have risen to 4,094, though its accuracy is debated. These numbers reveal a stark truth: a city of abundance is failing its most vulnerable. The contrast is striking. Vancouver's gleaming condos and thriving tech scenes stand in sharp contrast to the tents lining its sidewalks. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we're here to ask, how can a city so rich in resources leave thousands without shelter? The answer lies in a tangle of economic, social, and systemic issues, but the human cost is undeniable. If these stories move you, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us share the untold realities of those living in the shadows. 2. Downtown East Side, the heart of the crisis. In Vancouver's core lies the downtown East Side. T's a 0.5-square-mile neighborhood housing roughly 18,000 residents. It's both iconic and infamous, a place where poverty, addiction, and homelessness converge. Walking its streets, you'll see tents, cardboard shelters, and faces etched with resilience and struggle. Here, Vancouver's homelessness crisis is most visible, a place where hope often feels elusive. In 2023, the Carnegie Housing Project reported over 605 unsheltered individuals in T's, many without access to clean water or sanitation. The area's median household income, just $13,155 in 2020, underscores the deep poverty fueling this crisis. Amid this hardship, stories of humanity shine through. Sarah, a 34-year-old mother, lost her job during the pandemic and now lives in a tent near Hastings Street, clutching her daughter's teddy bear each night, dreaming of a stable home. Her story reminds us that every number hides a person with hopes and heart aches. What can we do to help people like Sarah find a path forward? This stark reality sets the stage for understanding the broader social impact as the crisis ripples across communities and strains resources.
Take care. I know.
3. The social impact of homelessness. In Vancouver, a city pulsing with 5,493 people per square kilometer, the homelessness crisis weaves a heavy thread through the fabric of every community. It's not just about the tents dotting the sidewalks or the faces peering from alleyways. It's about the ripple effect that touches every resident, from bustling downtown to quiet suburbs. Unsheltered individuals, often grappling with mental health challenges and addiction, face a world where help feels like a distant promise. Without stable shelter, their struggles amplify, creating a cycle of despair that strains the city's social heartbeat. In 2024, Vancouver's homeless population grew by 5%, with 1,366 individuals counted, a number that barely scratches the surface of the crisis. For the first time in 6 years, more people found shelter than slept on the streets, a flicker of hope. Yet, the city's 47 emergency shelters, holding just 1,200 beds, buckle under the weight of need, especially when winter's chill sweeps through. In the downtown east side, where 30% of residents report untreated mental health issues, the lack of support is glaring. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we see Michael, a 52-year-old former carpenter, sketching intricate woodworking designs near Main Street. After an injury stole his livelihood, he shares his art with strangers, a spark of resilience in a sea of hardship. Why aren't there enough resources to lift people like Michael up? The toll extends beyond individuals. Neighborhoods like Tees, with 18,000 residents packed into half a square mile, face public health challenges as untreated conditions spread. Limited access to healthcare and social services frays community bonds, leaving everyone to feel the crisis's weight. How can we mend this divide? Four, the economic drivers of homelessness. In Vancouver, where dreams of prosperity shimmer against a backdrop of snow-capped mountains, the harsh reality of sky-high living cost casts a long shadow. The city's 2023 benchmark price for a detached home soared to a staggering $2.8 million, while the average one-bedroom apartment demands over $2,000 monthly in rent. For countless residents, these figures transform the dream of a stable home into an unreachable mirage, pushing them toward the streets. Economic hardship runs deep, with poverty gripping the city like a relentless tide. In 2024, Vancouver's unemployment rate stood at 6.7%, but for youth, it spiked to a daunting 14.4%, leaving young dreamers stranded without opportunity. In neighborhoods like Strathcona, where 22% of households scrape by on less than $20,000 annually, financial instability is a daily battle. Here, 30% of residents spend over half their income on rent, teetering on the edge of homelessness.
They got divorced when I was 5.
Lila's story brings this struggle to life. A 27-year-old barista raised in foster care, she once shared a cramped apartment near Commercial Drive. When her roommate left, the $1,800 rent became an impossible burden. Now, Lila lives in a makeshift shelter, knitting colorful scarves to sell for a few dollars, her nimble fingers weaving hope into every stitch. Her resilience captivates, but her plight begs a piercing question. How can we build a city where young people like Lila aren't priced out of their futures? These economic currents, unaffordable housing, rampant poverty, and job scarcity, form a perfect storm, driving Vancouver's homelessness crisis. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we're here to uncover why systemic gaps keep pushing people like Lila to the margins. Five, a struggling social safety net. Vancouver's social services, stretched across its sprawling 115 square kilometers, are buckling under the weight of a relentless homelessness crisis. Picture a city with a heart, straining to care for its most vulnerable, yet falling short as shelters overflow and wait lists grow longer by the day. In 2024, Vancouver allocated a commendable $30 million to homeless services, but this is a mere drop in the bucket against a tide of need. The city's 47 emergency shelters, offering just 1,200 beds, operate at full capacity, leaving many to face the cold with nowhere to turn. The result: countless individuals cycle through temporary fixes, their dreams of stability fading like footprints in the rain. Mental health and addiction support, so critical to breaking this cycle, are woefully scarce. With only 12 publicly funded detox centers citywide, wait times stretch into months, leaving people trapped in a haze of despair. In neighborhoods like Gastown, where 14% of residents report unmet mental health needs, the lack of accessible care deepens the struggle. This gap doesn't just affect the homeless, it ripples outward, overwhelming emergency services and healthcare systems. Imagine paramedics stretched thin, responding to calls for help that could have been prevented with proper support. Why does a city of such wealth struggle to mend its safety net? The broader community feels the strain as resources dwindle and compassion is tested. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we see the cracks in the system, cracks that demand urgent repair. How can we weave a stronger net to catch those falling through? 6. Hotspots beyond downtown East Side. While the downtown East Side remains the beating heart of Vancouver's homelessness crisis, the struggle is creeping into unexpected corners of this vibrant city. West Vancouver, with its 42,473 residents and jaw-dropping median home price of $3.2 million, now sees tents blooming like wildflowers near serene parks and bustling schoolyards. East Vancouver, home to 103,000 souls, and the scholarly enclave around the University of British Columbia, with its 60,000 students, are no longer immune. These affluent neighborhoods, once symbols of aspiration, now share the same haunting challenges tease. In West Vancouver, where 8% of residents scrape by below the poverty line, the sight of encampments sparks heated debates. Picture families strolling through Ambleside Park, only to pause at the sight of weathered tents tucked beneath cedar trees. The tension is palpable. Residents grapple with compassion for the homeless while yearning to preserve their idyllic community. In East Vancouver, where 15% of households depend on social assistance, makeshift shelters dot the edges of vibrant commercial drive, a stark contrast to its hip cafes and colorful murals. Near UBC, where 12% of students face housing insecurity, young scholars pass by encampments on their way to lectures, a sobering reminder of the crisis's reach. This is Street Stories Homeless, shining a light on these overlooked corners. How can a city so steeped in beauty and opportunity bridge the divide between its haves and have-nots? These hot spots weave a complex tapestry, urging us to see homeless not as a localized issue, but a citywide call for unity and action. Seven, Voices of Resilience. In the heart of Vancouver's homelessness crisis, where despair often casts a long shadow, flickers of hope emerge through acts of compassion and resilience. Across the city's 44 neighborhoods, ordinary people and grassroots initiatives are weaving a tapestry of change, proving that humanity can shine even in the darkest corners. In Mount Pleasant, where 12% of residents volunteer annually, community kitchens buzz with warmth, serving 1,500 nourishing meals weekly to those without homes. These efforts, though modest, offer a lifeline, reminding us that small acts can ripple outward. Local heroes are stepping up with bold ideas. The Hope Hub launched in 2024 in Gastown, where 25% of storefronts support local charities, trains 200 homeless individuals yearly in skills like carpentry and cooking. These programs don't just teach trades, they restore dignity and spark dreams. Picture a man once sleeping under a bridge, now crafting furniture, his hands steady with purpose. In Chinatown, where 20% of businesses donate to shelters, volunteers brave chilly nights to distribute 500 blankets monthly, wrapping warmth around those who need it most. Each blanket carries a silent promise: you are not forgotten. These stories of resilience are the heartbeat of Vancouver's fight against homelessness. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we're inspired by these unsung champions who show that change begins with community. What can you do to join this movement of kindness? As we celebrate these efforts, we see a path forward, one that connects to the broader solutions needed to end this crisis. Eight, government efforts and ongoing challenges. Vancouver's leaders have not turned a blind eye to the homelessness crisis, but their efforts, though ambitious, often feel like drops in an ocean of need. The Housing Vancouver 3-year action plan, launched in 2020, is a bold promise to construct 12,000 affordable housing units by 2028. By 2024, 3,200 units have welcomed families and individuals, offering a glimmer of hope in neighborhoods like Marpole, where 14% of residents rent. Yet, with Vancouver's vacancy rate stubbornly stuck at 2.5%, these new homes are a mere bandage on a gaping wound. Another beacon of progress is the Housing First initiative, a program that believes a stable home is the foundation for healing. Since 2021, it has transformed lives for 400 individuals, providing not just shelter but wraparound support like job training and counseling. Imagine the joy of someone stepping into their own apartment after years on the streets. But here's the catch: thousands remain on wait lists, their dreams deferred by a shortage of available units. The provincial government's $10 billion BC Housing Strategy, also launched in 2020, aims to build 114,000 new homes and bolster mental health programs across British Columbia. In Vancouver, this has funded 2,100 supportive housing units, each a lifeline for someone in need.
Water? Okay.
Yet, every unit is occupied and new projects stall, tangled in zoning disputes and bureaucratic red tape.
Okay, water. And what about Oreo cookies? You want some? Okay.
In areas like Fairview, where 9% of households face housing insecurity, delays are more than paperwork. They're barriers to hope.
Would you like some food? Yeah.
How can these initiatives scale fast enough to meet the crisis's urgency? The answer lies in action, not just plans.
No water? Okay. Oh, you're welcome.
9. Pathways to solutions. Vancouver's homelessness crisis calls for bold, transformative action, and the path forward is clear if we dare to walk it. To break the cycle, the city must prioritize affordable housing with fierce determination. Vancouver needs 20,000 new units by 2030, with a laser focus on social and supportive housing for those teetering on the edge. In Kitsilano, where 18% of renters pour over half their income into rent, this isn't just a policy, it's a lifeline. Rent control, capping annual increases at 3%, could shield families from being priced out, offering stability in a city where rents soar like skyscrapers. But housing alone isn't enough. We must heal the wounds of the mind and spirit. Mental health and addiction services demand urgent investment. Vancouver's 2024 health budget of $1.2 billion allocates $100 million for mental health. But that's a drop in the bucket. Doubling the city's 10 mobile crisis units could bring immediate care to those in distress, turning moments of despair into hope. Imagine counselors reaching people where they stand, offering a hand instead of a handout. Finally, opportunity must replace desperation. Job training programs like the 2023 pilot that empowered 150 individuals with skills need to scale up. In Yaletown, where 10% of residents face unemployment, tailored programs could spark new beginnings for those sleeping on the streets. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we envision a Vancouver where every person has a home, a purpose, and a future.
No worries. We do it once a week. We come here.
These solutions demand our collective courage. Let's build a city that leaves no one behind. A call to action. Vancouver's homelessness crisis, woven through its 44 vibrant neighborhoods, is more than a challenge, it's a call to our shared humanity. Picture Sarah clutching her daughter's teddy bear in a tent on Hastings Street, or Michael sketching woodworking designs under a dim street light, or Lila knitting scarves to survive near Commercial Drive. These are not just stories, they are the beating hearts of Street Stories Homeless, crying out for change. Their dreams, etched in the shadows of this affluent city, demand our attention and action. Every tent tells a tale of resilience, but also of a system that's faltering. By expanding affordable housing, we can offer stability to thousands. Imagine strengthening mental health services, giving hope to those battling unseen struggles, or scaling job training programs to light a path to independence. In a city where 18% of renters in Kitsilano spend half their income on rent, these solutions are not just ideas, they're lifelines. This is Street Stories Homeless, where we believe every person deserves a place to call home. You hold the power to spark change. Share Sarah's hope, Michael's creativity, and Leela's grit with the world. Support local shelters in Vancouver's 115 square kilometers, volunteer at community kitchens, or urge leaders to prioritize housing. Your voice can reshape this city's future. If these stories have stirred your soul, please like, comment, and subscribe to Street Stories Homeless. Let's amplify these voices together. Together we can rewrite Vancouver's story. Let's build a city where no one sleeps on concrete, where every heart finds hope, and where Street Stories Homeless becomes a testament to compassion and change. Join us, because every step forward counts.
The homelessness problem downtown would just get worse and worse.
This is a very scary time of year, and when the temperatures get this cold, it's deadly and it's frightening.
What the f is wrong with you, mother? What the f you want?
Welcome to Street Stories Homeless. This is Street Stories Homeless, where we tell the stories no one else will. Did you know that by 2025, Anchorage, Alaska had one of the highest infertility rates in the United States? Or that the city spends nearly $1 billion each year trying to manage the crisis? Yet the number of people without shelter keeps rising. That's right, in one of the richest and coldest cities in America, more than 2,900 people lived unsheltered in 2024. Anchorage is known for its breathtaking mountains and northern lights, but few see the human struggle behind that beauty. Nearly 1 in every 100 residents had no place to call home. These aren't just statistics. They're real people facing the unimaginable. In a land of oil wealth and tourism, how did this become our reality? If you believe in truth that matters, comment and subscribe. At Street Stories Homeless, we reveal the stories buried under the snow. 1. The numbers behind the cold reality. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Alaska recorded 2,686 people. Alaska's homelessness crisis isn't just a winter problem. It's a year-round emergency that becomes especially visible when temperatures drop. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's 2024 Annual Homeless Assessment Report, 2,686 individuals were recorded as experiencing homelessness statewide during the January point-in-time count. While that number may seem manageable in a vast state, it masks the deeper complexity of hidden homelessness and rapidly shifting demographics. In Anchorage, the numbers are even more urgent. The July 2024 homeless count by the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness identified 2,940 individuals without stable housing, nearly 3 times the national per capita average. What's most concerning is the breakdown. Not only has chronic homelessness risen, but families with children have seen the sharpest increase. Across the U.S., nearly 150,000 children experienced homelessness on a given night in 2024, a 33% jump from 2023.
A homelessness problem downtown would just get worse and worse.
But these counts are only a partial glimpse. Alaska's geography makes tracking homelessness particularly challenging. Many people in remote or native communities are forced into hidden homelessness, staying in overcrowded homes, couch surfing, or living in unregistered structures. Their stories remain undocumented and largely unrecognized by policy. The data is more than just numbers, it's a call to look deeper. How many more are unseen, unheard, and unsupported in one of America's most extreme climates? 2. Stories behind the statistics. In Fairbanks, Alaska, the numbers behind homelessness reveal a stark reality. According to the January 2024 point-in-time count, there were 148 individuals experiencing homelessness in the city. This figure includes both those in shelters and those without any form of shelter, enduring the harsh Alaskan winter nights. Among these individuals, a significant portion are unaccompanied youth. Nationwide, nearly 150,000 children experienced homelessness on a single night in 2024, reflecting a 33% increase from the previous year. While specific numbers for Fairbanks are not detailed, the national trend underscores the vulnerability of young individuals in such communities. The challenges faced by the homeless population in Fairbanks are compounded by limited shelter capacities. For instance, the new warming center that opened in December 2024 expanded its capacity from 15 to 49 individuals, aiming to provide overnight refuge during the coldest months. Despite these efforts, the demand often exceeds the available resources, leaving many without a safe place to stay. These statistics are not just numbers, they represent real people facing daily hardships. Each figure tells a story of resilience, struggle, and the urgent need for comprehensive solutions to address homelessness in Fairbanks and beyond. Three, the pressures of a failing infrastructure. Alaska's housing crisis is not merely a consequence of insufficient construction, it's a multifaceted issue exacerbated by geographic challenges, economic disparities, and infrastructural limitations. In Anchorage, the state's largest city, the median rent has surged by 7.8% over the past year, climbing from $1,275 to $1,375 in 2024. This increase does not account for utilities, which can add significantly to monthly expenses. For extremely low-income LA households, those earning at or below 30% of the area median income, the situation is dire. Alaska has only 36 affordable and available rental homes for every 100 Ely renter households, leaving a shortage of 13,722 units. Moreover, 63% of these households are severely cost-burdened, spending more than half of their income on housing. Energy costs further strain household budgets. Residents in Anchorage, served by Chugach Electric, pay approximately 22.5 cents per kilowatt hour, substantially higher than the national average of 16.6 cents. In Fairbanks, households allocate about 10% of their income to energy expenses, compared to the national average of 3%. Transportation infrastructure also poses challenges. Limited public transit options in both urban and rural areas hinder access to employment, healthcare, and education, making it difficult for residents to maintain stable housing and livelihoods. Collectively, these factors, rising housing costs, energy burdens, and inadequate transportation, create an environment where maintaining stable housing is increasingly difficult for many Alaskans. Addressing this crisis requires a comprehensive approach that considers the interconnected nature of these infrastructural challenges. 4. Cold realities, unseen lives. In Alaska, the cold isn't just a season, it's a presence that invades every hour of life without a home. Snow arrives early and stays longer than most people realize. It blankets the sidewalks, the park benches, and the wooded edges of towns where people without housing retreat to remain unseen. But even in hiding, the elements are impossible to avoid. In places like Fairbanks, the wind chill can plunge below 40 degrees. Those sleeping in cars wake every few minutes to start the engine not for warmth, but for survival. But not everyone has a car. For many, the only barrier between their skin and the cold is a layer of donated clothing and a threadbare blanket. The cold brings more than physical discomfort, it brings silence. People experiencing homelessness often go days without hearing their own name spoken. Some say the frost hurts, but not as much as being ignored. In a state famous for its beauty, how is it that so many become invisible? This is the daily landscape of Alaska's unhoused population, a world of ice, silence, and endurance. At Street Stories Homeless, we believe it's a landscape that deserves to be seen and changed. Five, trapped in the cycles of identity and isolation. The emotional toll of homelessness often begins long before someone loses their physical home. It starts when they lose their place in the world, when they're no longer seen, heard, or accepted. For youth who identify as Lektu or who have aged out of foster care, this reality is especially harsh in Alaska's tightly knit and often conservative communities. In many cases, being different becomes the very reason they're pushed out. Rejection by family, exclusion from schools or faith groups, and the silence that follows leaves scars that go far beyond financial hardship. These aren't isolated events, they are recurring patterns that slowly erode a person's sense of self-worth. Nationwide, over 40% of homeless youth identify as Lektu, a stark overrepresentation. In Alaska, many flee rural areas hoping to find belonging in Anchorage. Instead, they face another wall, limited housing, overburdened shelters, and lingering social stigma. Even where support exists, it's not always accessible. Group shelters may feel unsafe or unwelcoming. Mental health services are stretched thin. The result: disconnection deepens. Social belonging isn't just emotional, it's essential for survival. Without it, people become vulnerable not only to the cold but to the quiet despair of feeling invisible. At Street Stories Homeless, we listen to these truths not as statistics but as lived realities. Because to truly understand homelessness, we must recognize what's being lost isn't just a home, it's dignity, identity, and human connection. 6. The heart of the issue? A system under strain. Many individuals experiencing homelessness in Alaska don't begin their stories on the streets. The road to housing insecurity is often paved with a series of smaller, overlooked failures, a delayed paycheck, an unaffordable medical bill, a job loss without severance. For people already living paycheck to paycheck, it doesn't take much to fall behind. In Alaska, the high cost of living makes recovery especially difficult. A gallon of milk can cost over $6 in remote areas. And public services like transit or healthcare are not evenly distributed across the state. People like Daniel, the Navy veteran mentioned earlier, often fall into what experts call administrative homelessness. Individuals who qualify for assistance but cannot access it in time due to red tape or long wait lists. The result: people remain unhoused not because they don't qualify for help, but because help arrives too late. Compounding these barriers is the fact that many people feel shame or fear stigma when asking for support. A cultural emphasis on independence and self-reliance in Alaska, while admirable, can make it harder for those struggling to reach out. In this way, homelessness becomes not just an economic failure, but an emotional and social one too. The reality is, people don't become homeless overnight. They fall slowly through a system that's too thin to catch them, and by the time society notices, they're already in survival mode. Street Stories Homeless is here to make sure their stories aren't missed, because no one should feel invisible in the place they once called home. 7. Solutions that work but need scale. Programs like Housing First have proven time and again that providing people with stable housing first before addressing employment, mental health, or substance issues creates measurable change. In fact, studies from the National Alliance to End Homelessness show that participants in Housing First programs remain housed at a rate of 80% or more, even after years of instability. In Anchorage, where the initiative has been implemented on a limited scale, success stories have emerged, but so have signs that the program isn't being funded to meet actual demand. Each year, more than 1,000 people in Anchorage seek help from housing-focused nonprofits, yet many are turned away due to lack of space or funding. Meanwhile, emergency responses such as nightly shelters or street outreach consume the majority of available resources. According to the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness, over 80% of homelessness spending goes toward temporary interventions, with only a fraction allocated for permanent housing. That misalignment matters. Temporary shelters provide brief respite but rarely offer a pathway out. Without housing to stabilize people, wraparound services can't gain traction. Health issues remain untreated. Employment remains unattainable. Hope remains out of reach. Scaling solutions means more than just building units, it means building trust. It requires hiring caseworkers, expanding culturally competent support, and maintaining long-term investment. Housing First works. The evidence is clear. The only question is, will we match that proof with purpose? 8. The human toll of delayed action. Ava's story is not an isolated case. It is part of a larger, invisible pattern unfolding in Alaska's communities. Every delayed policy, every backlogged application, and every overburdened shelter becomes a moment where someone like Ava has to make an impossible choice: pay for medication or pay for food. Call a relative or wait on hold with housing services. Sleep in a car or try their luck at a shelter that filled up 2 hours ago. For many seniors, the math simply doesn't work anymore. According to the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies, over half of renters aged 50 or older spend more than 30% of their income on housing. In Alaska, where rental prices outpace national averages and utilities are higher due to climate, this percentage can climb even higher. With Social Security benefits averaging just over $1,500 per month, even a modest rent increase can push someone over the edge. But the burden isn't just financial, it's mental, emotional, and social. The strain of housing insecurity accelerates isolation. People stop going to community centers. They avoid friends out of shame. They miss doctor's appointments because there's no stable address to receive a reminder. This is how people disappear, not all at once, but piece by piece. Then there are the working class residents, people juggling 2 jobs who still can't afford rent. In Anchorage, the median rent for a 2-bedroom apartment was $1,602 in 2024. A person making $16 an hour full-time brings in about $2,560 a month before taxes. After rent, little remains for food, transit, or childcare. It doesn't take a major crisis to fall behind, just one missed paycheck. At Street Stories Homeless, we document these quiet fractures before they become collapse. Because behind every delay in action is a person waiting, hoping, and often carrying more than we can see. 9. What can be done, and what still holds us back? Alaska's efforts to address homelessness have expanded, but the system remains fragmented and overly focused on short-term fixes. Anchorage's recent summer homelessness plan, while helpful in adding shelter beds and expanding outreach, still leans heavily on emergency responses, from temporary housing to encampment cleanups. These efforts may manage visible symptoms, but they do little to solve the deeper issue of long-term housing insecurity. A major obstacle is systemic inefficiency. Agencies across local, state, and federal levels often work in isolation. This siloed approach leads to overlapping efforts, bureaucratic slowdowns, and misallocated resources. On the ground, service providers report that navigating these fragmented systems can be as difficult as helping someone off the street. It's not just a lack of funding, it's a lack of coordination. Adding to the strain is the stark imbalance in federal support. Anchorage receives only $4 million a year from HUD, while Houston, with a comparable homeless population, receives 10 times that. This discrepancy hampers everything from mental health outreach to the construction of supportive housing. Alaska's unique conditions, vast distances, limited infrastructure, and seasonal extremes aren't fully reflected in national funding formulas. For progress to happen, Alaska must commit to an integrated approach. Housing cannot be treated as separate from healthcare, income security, or community belonging. Street Stories Homeless continues to highlight these shortcomings, not to assign blame, but to demand urgency. Behind every delay is someone still waiting. What if we stopped managing crisis and started building permanence? What if coordination, not just compassion, became our strongest resource? 10. Looking forward, 2 possible futures. But the path ahead doesn't have to lead to deeper crisis if Alaska reimagines its priorities. The opportunity is there to shift course. If even half of the needed 10,000 affordable housing units are built over the next 5 years, it could offer stability to thousands currently cycling between shelters, streets, and temporary arrangements. Strategic investment can unlock generational benefits. When people have stable homes, their health improves, their employment prospects rise, and their children do better in school. The challenge is not knowing what works, it's scaling what already does. Programs like Housing First have proven that putting people into homes without preconditions leads to higher long-term stability. Alaska's local implementations show promising results, including cost reductions in emergency care and reduced strain on law enforcement. However, inconsistent funding and short-term political cycles continue to stall momentum. Will state and federal leaders align behind a unified, long-range strategy? In parallel, Alaska must also address the root drivers of housing insecurity: rising rents, stagnant wages, and a lack of reliable public infrastructure. Without curbing rent inflation or offering meaningful wage growth, housing demand will keep outpacing supply. The gaps in healthcare access, mental health services, and addiction recovery programs also push many closer to losing their homes or prevent them from regaining one. Ultimately, the future Alaska builds depends on what it values: short-term band-aids or long-term dignity. The question remains, will action come in time? Or will we be revisiting these same conversations 5 years from now with even more names left unheard? 11. Final reflections: the Alaska we choose. Alaska's homelessness crisis isn't a distant anomaly. It's here. It's local. It's unfolding every day in public view, often ignored because facing it feels too difficult, too vast, or too uncomfortable. Yet behind every person living without a home is not just loss, but resilience. At Street Stories Homeless, we've seen the strength of people who navigate sleepless nights, frigid mornings, and uncertain tomorrows with a kind of courage many will never understand. Their lives are not defined by pity. They are defined by perseverance. We see children doing homework under library lights, seniors saving bus passes to access a free meal downtown, veterans offering blankets to others before taking one for themselves. These are the quiet acts of dignity that persist even when systems fail. But what future do we choose? Do we become a state that normalizes this level of hardship? A society where the cost of living steadily pushes more people out with fewer ways to come back? Or do we lean into our shared humanity and commit to doing better, not just through donations or policies, but by genuinely recognizing each other? It's time to ask ourselves difficult questions. Why are our most vulnerable still falling through the cracks in a nation with so many resources? Why are Indigenous voices so central to Alaska's history, the ones most at risk of being left behind? This isn't just a policy issue. It's a moral crossroads, a chance to decide what kind of Alaska we're building. At Street Stories Homeless, we'll keep telling these stories until the silence around them breaks. Because no one, not one person, should ever have to fight for their worth, their warmth, their place in this world, and certainly not alone. Welcome to Street Stories Homeless. This is Street Stories Homeless, where you can tell the stories no one else can. Did you know that by 2025, the Tenderloin District will have one of the highest rates of homelessness in the United States? Or that the city spends nearly $1 billion a year to address this crisis, yet the number of people living without shelter continues to rise? That's right, what's happening in the Tenderloin isn't just a city problem. It's a warning to the rest of the country. Step into this neighborhood and you'll feel like you're in a world the rest of San Francisco has forgotten. Here, reality doesn't knock, it screams. Streets fade into open-air shelters and sidewalks are littered with lives caught in the cracks. This is a place where systems break down, where help is always nearby but often out of reach. Why does 1 square mile carry so much weight for the city? And more importantly, why does no one seem to know what to do next? One, a crisis of concentration. Why Tenderloin? The Tenderloin isn't just struggling, it's at a breaking point. Despite covering less than 1% of San Francisco's total land area, the Tenderloin district holds a disproportionately large percentage of the city's homeless population. According to San Francisco's Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, as of early 2025, an estimated 20 to 25% of all unsheltered people in the city reside in the Tenderloin alone. That's over 2,000 individuals packed into just 50 blocks. Why here? The Tenderloin is home to the highest concentration of homeless services in the entire Bay Area. Nearly 70% of the city's shelter beds, mental health clinics, soup kitchens, harm reduction centers, and transitional housing units are located in or near this neighborhood. Over time, this created a pattern of overdependence, where people in crisis are funneled into one district for survival. What began as a humanitarian impulse has morphed into an unsustainable system. The magnet effect, the drawing in of unhoused individuals from other parts of the city or even outside counties, is very real. Outreach workers report that many newly arrived homeless individuals cite the Tenderloin as where you go if you want to get help. But what happens when that help is stretched thin? Services are overwhelmed. Waiting lists for shelter or detox beds can stretch weeks, even for those in acute crisis. Mental health providers report seeing more patients than they can responsibly manage. Public sidewalks have effectively become overflow shelters. According to data from 311 service requests, in 2024 alone, there were over 22,000 complaints related to encampments, human waste, and drug activity in the Tenderloin, a number far exceeding any other district in San Francisco. Residents are exhausted. Business owners are closing or relocating. Children grow up walking past used needles, and seniors struggle to navigate sidewalks that are often blocked by tents. And all the while, other neighborhoods remain largely untouched, both by the problem and the responsibility to be part of the solution. This isn't just a humanitarian failure, it's a planning failure. San Francisco's model has placed the burden of the entire city's homelessness crisis onto a few blocks, expecting the Tenderloin to absorb and solve what is clearly a structural citywide and even statewide problem. If we're serious about ending homelessness, or even managing it humanely, we can't keep looking the other way while the Tenderloin burns out. Every district must take ownership. Every community must open its doors. Because if one neighborhood is left to carry the load alone, we all fail. 2. The reality on the ground. Walk a few blocks through the Tenderloin, and you'll feel the dissonance immediately. On one side, a young professional checks emails on a sleek smartphone. On the other, a man shelters himself with a worn tarp, hoping to stay dry before nightfall. These contrasting realities share the same sidewalks, and for many they become disturbingly routine. A 2025 report from San Francisco's Department of Public Health reveals that nearly 64% of people experiencing homelessness are unsheltered, sleeping in doorways, on sidewalks, or under overpasses. In Tenderloin, that statistic is visible in every block. The lack of privacy, clean facilities, and personal safety creates a relentless grind that strips people of their sense of dignity. One such person is Tonya, a 54-year-old former chef who lost everything after a health crisis. "I used to serve hundreds of meals a night," she said. "Now I wait in line just to eat and hope I can find a dry place to sleep." Her voice carries the exhaustion of someone who's seen every door close. But this crisis affects more than the unhoused. Outreach workers report high rates of chronic sleep deprivation, anxiety, and trauma. Many people they meet haven't had a safe night's sleep in months. The psychological wear is invisible at a glance, but it runs deep. And what's perhaps most unsettling is how normalized it's become. Children step over sleeping bodies on their way to school. Tourists walk by, some startled, others desensitized. Yet for those experiencing it, there's no option to look away. The street is their reality, unfiltered and unforgiving. These aren't just statistics. They're people who once had routines, responsibilities, and futures. Now they're struggling not for opportunity, but for visibility in a city that too often walks past them. Three, layers beneath the surface, addiction and mental health. Substance use in the Tenderloin district isn't just a public health issue, it's a visible, daily reality shaping the identity of the neighborhood. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid estimated to be 50 times stronger than heroin, has become disturbingly common. Often hidden in other street drugs, fentanyl surprises even experienced users. According to San Francisco's Department of Public Health, fentanyl-related overdoses have surged dramatically in recent years, and the Tenderloin remains at the center of this crisis. But addiction doesn't exist in a vacuum. It often follows personal trauma, long-term instability, or untreated mental illness. Many on the streets are not just using drugs, they're trying to self-medicate deep psychological pain. Diagnoses like PTSD, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia are common, yet consistent care remains out of reach for most. With overwhelmed clinics and long wait times, getting help feels more like winning a lottery than accessing a right. Stigma only deepens the crisis. Society too often labels substance users as dangerous or irresponsible, when in reality many are simply doing what they can to survive. Devontae, 42, was once a warehouse worker before losing his job and spiraling into mental distress during the pandemic. He turned to fentanyl not for escape, but for stability. It was the only thing that made me feel normal, he said. But it also took everything from me. Recovery means more than quitting drugs. It requires rebuilding a life. Stable housing, trauma-informed care, peer support, and consistent follow-ups are critical for real progress. Some programs offer these services and early results are encouraging, but they are not yet available at the scale the crisis demands. If San Francisco is to turn the tide, it must stop relying on temporary fixes and invest in long-term, compassionate systems. The Tenderloin deserves more than reaction, it needs recovery. Isn't that the kind of safety net every city should provide? Four, the price of a home, unaffordable San Francisco. In San Francisco, the dream of homeownership has slipped out of reach for the average worker. As of 2025, the median home price is roughly $1.4 million. And even renting a small studio can cost more than $2,700 a month. Add in security deposits, fees, and utilities, and it's clear this isn't just unaffordable, it's unsustainable. For families earning under $60,000 annually, housing is no longer a stepping stone, it's an immovable wall. What's worse, the supply of affordable housing hasn't kept pace with demand. City planners estimate San Francisco needs more than 80,000 affordable units by 2031 to meet its needs. Yet bureaucracy, zoning battles, and opposition from some neighborhoods delay projects or block them entirely. When housing does get built, it often serves the luxury market, ignoring the city's most vulnerable residents. Many people now spend over 50% of their income on rent, crossing the federal threshold for being severely cost-burdened. This financial strain leaves little room for basic needs like food, childcare, or medical care. A single missed paycheck or unexpected emergency can start a downward spiral into eviction, and for many, into homelessness. The brutal reality is that having a job, or even two, is no longer enough. Families with multiple incomes still find themselves living on the edge, constantly juggling bills and skipping meals just to keep the lights on. What kind of city are we building if full-time workers can't afford a place to sleep? This is more than an economic crisis, it's a question of values. When waitlists for subsidized housing stretch years and emergency shelters are beyond capacity, we have to ask who gets to belong in San Francisco. And what are we doing to protect the very people who hold the city together? Five, a broken response system. Despite years of ambitious promises and historic funding levels, San Francisco's homelessness response remains deeply fragmented. While the city allocates hundreds of millions each year to tackle the issue, the absence of a coordinated system continues to undermine progress. Services for housing, healthcare, and addiction recovery often operate in isolation, duplicating efforts, failing to share critical information, and moving in misaligned directions. Outreach teams, though well-intentioned, are frequently under-equipped to handle the complex needs they face on the ground. Many unhoused individuals are dealing with addiction and untreated mental illness, yet they are referred to temporary shelters without access to the integrated care required for real recovery. Without a unified tracking system, individuals disappear from view only to resurface again in hospitals, jail cells, or back on the same street corners. This breakdown isn't just a policy problem, it's a trust issue. Residents are told the system is improving because spending has increased, but their daily reality often suggests otherwise. That disconnect feeds public skepticism and reinforces the belief that nothing is working, when in truth many programs are weakened not by lack of effort, but by lack of structure. Experts say the solution lies in reforming the system itself. The city must adopt a long-term, integrated strategy, one that aligns agencies, shares data, and redefines success. It's no longer enough to count how many encampments are removed. What matters is how many lives are stabilized, how many people regain housing, and how many are given the tools to heal. Until those metrics take priority, even the most well-funded initiatives will continue to fall short of real, lasting change. 6. Community impact, friction, and frustration. The ripple effects of the homelessness crisis in the Tenderloin are felt not just on the sidewalks, but in every corner of the community. For local residents, daily life is marked by a complicated mix of empathy and exhaustion. Many report feeling both heartbroken for those living in extreme conditions and overwhelmed by the constant tension it brings to the neighborhood. Small business owners say foot traffic has decreased significantly over the past year, with some citing a drop of more than 40% in customer visits. People are afraid to come here, said Daryl, who runs a corner cafe near Eddy Street. I love this neighborhood, but I've had to replace my front windows 3 times this year. It's not sustainable. Beyond property damage, many story owners also struggle with theft, vandalism, and the emotional toll of working under stress every day. For families raising children in the Tenderloin, the situation is equally pressing. Schools near the area often face added challenges, from keeping students focused amidst sirens and street activity to managing safety during after-school hours. Parents express deep concern about how the environment shapes their children's sense of normalcy. I want my son to grow up compassionate, one mother shared, but I also want him to feel safe walking to school.
Until I came here.
Despite the visible hardships, pockets of resilience continue to form. Local coalitions, often led by residents themselves, have organized weekly cleanups, mutual aid drives, and even informal wellness check-ins for unhoused neighbors. These grassroots efforts demonstrate that, even in areas under immense strain, community bonds are still alive and strong. Still, the underlying question persists: why does Tenderloin bear the brunt of the crisis alone? Advocates argue that more affluent districts must share the responsibility. Without a broader citywide effort, they warn, Tenderloin will remain in a cycle of overburdened services and under-supported communities. The need for balance between care and accountability, between compassion and practical action, is at the heart of the conversation. And until that balance is achieved, the frustrations of those living and working in Tenderloin are unlikely to fade. Seven, who's most at risk? The face of homelessness is far more layered than what we see on the streets. It includes people sleeping in cars, couch surfing with friends, or staying in temporary, often unsafe arrangements just to survive. Behind every unhoused person is a unique set of circumstances, and for certain groups, the odds are even steeper. One of the most at-risk groups is youth aging out of foster care. With no stable family support, these young adults are expected to become independent overnight. Nationally, about 1 in 5 become homeless as soon as they turn 18. In a city like San Francisco, where housing costs are unforgiving, the risk is even greater. LED2 youth are also disproportionately affected. Many are forced onto the streets after being rejected by their families. A 2023 report found that up to 40% of homeless youth identify as LED2. These young people often face more than just housing insecurity. They are also more vulnerable to violence, discrimination, and poor mental health. Older adults are another rising group among the unhoused. Many have worked their entire lives but are now living without pensions or affordable housing options. With age often comes health complications, and the lack of stable shelter can make even treatable conditions life-altering. Meanwhile, undocumented immigrants face the dual burden of poverty and fear. Without legal protections or access to services, they are often isolated and vulnerable. Add chronic illnesses or disabilities into the mix, and the barriers to stability become nearly impossible to climb. Understanding who is most at risk is the first step toward real solutions. It reminds us that homelessness isn't just about lacking shelter. It's about lacking systems of support when they're needed most.
What's up, buddy?
Programs in progress, seeds of hope. In addition to the Tenderloin Community Action Plan and the Behavioral Health Stabilization Center, San Francisco is testing several new approaches that bring a renewed sense of possibility. One such effort is the Step Forward SF program. This initiative focuses on rapid rehousing combined with comprehensive wraparound services. Participants receive short-term rental support alongside career guidance and mental health care, helping them build stability as they transition from shelters to permanent homes. Another promising development is the introduction of mobile wellness units. These mobile clinics operate in partnership with public health officials and local nonprofits, bringing essential care directly into neighborhoods like the Tenderloin. They provide mental health counseling, addiction services, and basic medical attention right where it's needed most. In 2024, over 6,000 individuals were served by these units, many of whom had never accessed care before. San Francisco is also exploring the potential of transitional tiny home communities. These small, private living units offer a far more dignified alternative to congregate shelters. With shared kitchens, clean restrooms, and 24/7 staff support, they give people a safe space to heal, rest, and plan for their future. While these programs are still in early phases, their impact is already drawing attention. Advocates say that what makes them powerful isn't just the services themselves, but the way they restore autonomy and humanity. When people are met with compassion, consistency, and opportunity, real transformation becomes possible. Together, these efforts represent more than just temporary relief. They offer something deeper, a real chance at rebuilding lives.
I'm getting all that right now, y'all. Give me 1 second.
All right, let me get this stuff out for our men. All right.
9. A call for systemic change. To create lasting solutions, San Francisco must reimagine its approach from the ground up. This means investing not just in shelter beds, but in the systems that support long-term recovery and personal growth. Housing alone cannot heal the traumas that drive homelessness. People need consistent, compassionate, and professional support. A major gap in today's response is continuity of care. Someone might receive temporary housing, but without ongoing services, mental health support, job counseling, addiction recovery, they often fall back into crisis. The answer? Wraparound services. Programs that provide a full spectrum of care in one plan, tailored to each individual's journey.
You want to bring those inside? Thank you. If you don't use it,
Technology can also help. Sharing data between service providers prevents overlap, reduces waste, and gives caseworkers a full picture of each person's needs. Mobile mental units and on-the-ground care teams have shown strong results in other cities and could be scaled here. And accessibility matters. Services must exist in every neighborhood, not just in Tenderloin. But even the best designed programs will fail without trust. True change happens when we build systems with the people we serve, not just for them. Listening to unhoused individuals, inviting them into planning discussions, and respecting their voices can transform how solutions are built. In the end, it's about dignity. When support feels human, people begin to believe in their own future again.
Medium underwear. Hold on. Take your medium. All right, great. No more men's medium underwear.
10. Your role in the story. Every city is defined not just by its skyline or its policies, but by the compassion of its people. While homelessness can feel like a massive, complex issue, the truth is, each of us holds a piece of the solution. Change begins with awareness, but it doesn't end there. It moves through empathy, and then into action. Start with small, tangible steps. Learn the names and stories of the people in your neighborhood who are experiencing homelessness. That simple act of recognition goes a long way. When you see someone, not just a situation, you begin to understand how layered this crisis really is. Support local organizations that do the daily hands-on work, outreach teams, shelters, food programs, and mental health services. Volunteering a few hours a month or making a donation might seem small, but to someone on the streets, it can feel like hope. Speak up. Share resources online. Attend town hall meetings. Let city officials know that you care not just about property values or public image, but about people. Your voice has power. When enough of us speak together, priorities shift. Finally, stay engaged. Homelessness is not an overnight issue, and solutions won't come overnight either. But by staying informed and involved, you become part of a story that can and will lead to change. Because the future of our cities isn't written by institutions alone. It's written by all of us.
That's one, right? Okay. All right, so you got gray and pink.
Welcome to Street Stories Homeless. This is Street Stories Homeless, where you tell the stories no one else will. Did you know Honolulu, Hawaii ranks among the worst for infertility in America? Or that the city pours nearly $1 billion yearly into the crisis? yet tents still choke its streets. Picture paradise, emerald waves, swaying palms. Now blink, see the sidewalks lined with despair, just blocks from Waikiki's glitz. Why does this island of dreams feel like a trap for so many? Brace for the gut punch. While tourists toast sunsets in $500 suites, thousands sleep on concrete. Their rocks crushed by a system that's failing. At Street Stories Homeless, we're peeling back Honolulu's postcard sheen to reveal raw truths. What's keeping this tropical haven from being home for all? Dive in with us to uncover the faces and dreams behind the crisis. Are you ready to see the real Honolulu? 1. The numbers that shock. Imagine Honolulu's golden beaches where turquoise waves kiss the shore and tourists bask in tropical bliss. Now shift your gaze just a block away. Tents crowd the sidewalks, shopping carts overflow with belongings, and weary faces tell tales the travel brochures hide. This is the Honolulu Street Stories Homeless is here to unveil. A paradise grappling with an infertility crisis that shatters its idyllic facade. In 2024, Hawaii reported 6,389 people without homes everywhere, with 494, 70% concentrated on Oahu, Honolulu's heart. That's a 12% spike from 2023, per point-in-time count by Partners in Care and HUD. Hawaii's infertility rate, at 44.9 per 10,000 residents, towers over the national average of 16 per 10,000, making it one of the worst in the U.S. On Oahu, 2,766 individuals were unsheltered last year, a figure that's doubled in a decade. These aren't just numbers, they're lives slipping through the cracks, a local advocate told us. But what do these numbers mean for real people? Let's meet Lele, a 32-year-old native Hawaiian mother who became one of those statistics. I used to work 2 jobs, but when my son got sick, I missed shifts and lost my apartment, she shared, her voice trembling. Now we sleep in a park, and I pray he doesn't wake up scared. Lailani's story is one of thousands, a testament to how quickly life can unravel. Yet, amidst the hardship, she clings to hope, attending job fairs when she can. Street Stories Homeless is committed to following Leilani's journey. Subscribe to our channel to see how her story unfolds and to support her path to stability. Why do you think stories like Leilani's often go unheard? The contrast between Honolulu's beauty and its struggles is jarring, and it's only the beginning. 2. The cost of paradise. Honolulu's infertility crisis isn't a sudden wave, it's a storm brewed by economics, isolation, and history. At Street Stories Homeless, we're digging into why paradise fails so many. The median rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Honolulu is $2,300 a month in 2025. But Hawaii's $14 an hour minimum wage yields just $2,240 monthly before taxes. That's 120 hours a week to afford rent, with nothing left for essentials. You're always one step from falling, a shelter volunteer said. Imports drive up costs, groceries, medicine, everything stings. Oahu's isolation traps people. Unlike the mainland, there's no cheaper city to flee to, and plane tickets are a pipe dream. Native Hawaiians, 10% of the population, make up a third of the homeless, with poverty rates at 20%, double the state average. Our history haunts us, an elder shared. Only 500 affordable homes are built yearly against a 20,000 unit need, stalled by capitalism. Tourism jobs employing 30% are low wage and shaky. For people like Kiana, one setback means the street. Why does paradise exclude so many? Street Stories Homeless is here to uncover the truth behind the crisis. Meet James, a 45-year-old former construction worker who embodies this struggle. I built condos for tourists, but I couldn't afford to live in one, he said, sitting beside his tent in a Waikiki alley. After a back injury sidelined him, James lost his apartment and now relies on food pantries. But he's not given up. He's enrolled in a vocational program to become a mechanic. "I want to fix cars and fix my life," he smiled. His determination is a spark of hope in a tough reality. At Street Stories Homeless, we'll keep you updated on James's progress. Hit that subscribe button to follow his inspiring journey. This economic squeeze isn't just a personal battle, it's a structural one. Let's explore how Honolulu's unique challenges make escape nearly impossible. Trapped by geography and history. Hawaii's isolation is both its charm and its curse. Unlike the mainland, where someone in crisis might move to a cheaper city, leaving Oahu requires a plane ticket, a luxury far out of reach for most. The ocean is beautiful, but it's also a wall, a caseworker noted. This geographic trap compounds the crisis, leaving people stuck in a cycle of poverty. Then there's the historical weight. Nearly 1/3 of Oahu's homeless population is Native Hawaiian, despite making up just 10% of the state's residents. Centuries of displacement and systemic inequity have left deep scars, with poverty rates among Native Hawaiians hovering at 20%, double the state average. This isn't just about today, it's about a history that never healed, a community leader explained. Enter Malia, a 28-year-old Native Hawaiian who's lived on the streets for 2 years. "My family lost our land generations ago, and now I'm here sleeping on it," she said, her eyes reflecting both pain and pride. Malia's found solace in a cultural program teaching traditional Hawaiian crafts, which she hopes will lead to a job. "I'm weaving my way back to myself," she said. Street Stories Homeless will track Malia's story. Subscribe to witness her transformation and support her journey. How does a place so rich in culture and beauty let so many slip through the cracks? The answer lies in the systems or lack thereof that should catch them. For a safety net in tatters. Picture a Honolulu sidewalk where someone battles inner turmoil with no place to turn. That's the harsh truth for thousands in Oahu, where the social safety net is crumbling. At Street Stories Homeless, we're shining a light on a system failing its most vulnerable. Over 60% of Oahu's 4,494 homeless individuals, about 2,700 souls, face mental health struggles or substance use, but help is a distant hope. Psychiatric clinics and detox programs are swamped, with waitlists dragging on for months, even years. It's like being asked to wait forever. A caseworker sighed, her voice heavy with defeat. Shelters offer no solace, with just 1,500 beds for over 4,000 unhoused people. Each night, dozens are turned away, clutching their lives in plastic bags, sent back to the streets. For women and children fleeing domestic violence, the outlook is bleaker still. Only 200 family shelter beds exist across Oahu. "I escaped danger but found no refuge," Sarah, a mother of 2, shared, her gaze wary.
Hiding.
City sweeps, meant to tidy streets for tourists, disrupt lives instead. A 2024 audit revealed 21% fewer belongings returned than promised, leaving people like Kai, whose tent was cleared, feeling erased. "They don't want to help us, they want us invisible," he said. These efforts prioritize image over impact, making outreach harder. This isn't just about missing beds, it's about dignity denied. Honolulu's vibrant spirit hides a stark reality. A fraying safety net hurts us all. Why can't Paradise protect its own? Street Stories Homeless is here to demand answers. 5 ripples across the community. Honolulu's homelessness crisis sends ripples far beyond the sidewalks, weaving into the lives of every resident, worker, and visitor in ways that demand attention. Picture a police officer under Waikiki's glowing streetlights, responding to yet another call about a tent encampment. In 2024, 15% of Oahu's police calls, over 12,000 incidents tied to homelessness, from wellness checks to removals, thrusting officers into roles as makeshift counselors despite their training. We're not equipped for this. One side, highlighting a system stretched thin. Now, imagine a classroom where 1 in 20 students, some 3,000 kids across Oahu, faces homelessness. Their nights spent in shelters or car backseats. Teachers watch them struggle, eyes heavy with exhaustion, scoring 25% lower on tests as instability steals their focus. How do you learn when you don't know where you'll sleep? A principal asked, voicing a quiet tragedy. The public feels the weight, too, as tourists pause, stunned, at tarp-covered carts near $500 a night resorts. It's not the paradise I expected, one admitted while locals grapple with divided hearts. A 2024 poll showed 60% support more shelters, yet others demand stricter laws to clean the streets. At Street Stories Homeless, we see these tensions as a mirror reflecting a city at a crossroads. The crisis costs Honolulu $50 million yearly in services, yet solutions lag, challenging the city to choose compassion over convenience. Every tent, every weary face asks, can a city be great if it leaves so many behind? The answer lies in action, because a community's true strength shines not in its sunsets but in its care for all. Six, the unsung heroes of Honolulu streets. At Street Stories Homeless, we believe every tent on Honolulu's sidewalks holds a story of grit and hope. Beyond Waikiki's dazzling lights, people like Keone, a 38-year-old former barista, navigate a world where survival demands courage. I lost my job when the cafe closed, and rent ate my savings. Keone shared his surfboard, his last treasure, propped beside him. In 2024, Oahu's 4,494 homeless individuals faced a shelter shortage, with only 1,500 beds available, leaving 2,766 unsheltered. Keone's not alone. 60% of the unhoused battle mental health or substance issues, yet waitlist for care stretch months. You feel invisible, he said. But Keone's found purpose mentoring youth at a community center, teaching them to surf. The ocean gives me strength, he grinned. His story mirrors Honolulu's paradox, a place of stunning beauty where systemic gaps, 20,000 affordable homes needed, only 500 built yearly, push people to the margins. Street Stories Homeless is here to amplify voices like Keone's, showing resilience amid hardship. A 2024 poll revealed 65% of locals want more outreach programs. Imagine centers where Keone's mentorship thrives, not just survives. How can we lift these voices louder? By sharing their stories, we challenge Honolulu to build a paradise where no one's left adrift, where every wave carries hope for a stable shore. 7, the overlooked plight of Oahu's elders. At Street Stories Homeless, we're exposing a hidden wound in Honolulu's crisis, the toll on its elders. In 2024, Oahu's 2,766 unsheltered individuals included a growing number of seniors, with native Hawaiians 10% of the population, comprising a third of the homeless. Hawaii's homelessness rate, at 44.9 per 10,000, triples the national average of 16 per 10,000. And the math is brutal. $2,300 monthly rent far outstrips fixed pensions. while only 500 affordable homes are built yearly against a 20,000 unit need. Seniors are fading into the margins, a shelter director noted. Many rely on food pantries, their savings drained by import-driven costs. Groceries in Honolulu cost 30% more than the mainland average. Yet, 60% of residents in a 2024 poll support senior-focused housing, a spark of hope. Street Stories Homeless envisions an Oahu where elders live in dignity, not despair, with 200 senior-specific units built annually and community centers offering warmth. Picture gray-haired kupuna sharing wisdom under banyan trees, not scavenging for scraps. Why does paradise sideline those who built it? Governor Josh Green's $100 million housing plan is a start, but red tape stalls progress. By prioritizing elders, Honolulu can craft a future where age is honored, where every sunset marks a life cherished, not forgotten. 8. A perfect storm of failures. Honolulu's homelessness crisis is a perfect storm, a relentless collision of systemic failures that betrays the promise of paradise. And at Street Stories Homeless, we're exposing its roots. Housing is a distant dream, with only 500 affordable units built each year against a staggering need for 20,000, stalled by bureaucratic zoning laws and community cries of "not in my backyard." We're drowning in red tape while luxury condos soar, a planner lamented. The economy, tethered to tourism, employs 30% of Oahu's workforce, but offers shaky, low-wage jobs. A hotel worker's $15 an hour can't touch a $2,300 monthly rent. You give everything and still end up with nothing, said Keone, a former concierge now in a tent. Mental health care, vital for the 60% of unhoused facing challenges, is a mirage. With just one psychiatrist per 1,000 residents, half the national average, in wait lists spanning months.
For a while?
The system's a wall you can't climb, Malia, you're living on the street's side. Layered over this are historical wounds. Native Hawaiians, 10% of the population, form a third of the homeless, with 20% poverty rates double the state's. This is our land, yet we're lost on it, an elder said. These aren't isolated problems, but a tapestry of neglect, and Street Stories Homeless is here to demand change. Nine, weaving community through empathy. Street Stories Homeless sees Honolulu's crisis as a canvas for unity, a chance to weave a stronger community. In 2024, OAU's 4,000-plus homeless faced a stark gap: 1,500 shelter beds for 2,766 unsheltered. While $2,300 rent dwarfed $2,240 minimum wage earnings. Native Hawaiians, a third of the homeless, grapple with poverty at twice the state's 10% rate. Empathy can rebuild us, a volunteer declared. With 70% of locals in a 2024 survey backing community initiatives, there's momentum for change. Yet, only 500 affordable homes are built yearly against a 20,000 unit need, and 60% of the unhoused need mental health care, delayed by months-long wait lists. Street Stories Homeless imagines a Honolulu where mobile health vans roam, community gardens replace tents, and 10,000 homes rise by 2030. Picture neighbors sharing meals, not judgment, in a city where tourism's 30% low-wage jobs give way to stable careers. Why not make compassion the pulse of paradise? Co-heal villages, tiny homes fostering connection, show promise, but bureaucracy slows their spread. By embracing small acts, volunteer patrols, skill workshops, Oahu can heal. Honolulu's true beauty lies not in its beaches, but in its ability to lift every soul, proving paradise thrives when hearts join hands. 10 efforts and obstacles. Honolulu's fight against homelessness is a tale of ambition clashing with reality, and at Street Stories Homeless, we're here to unpack it. Governor Josh Green and Mayor Rick Blangiardi are stepping up, pouring $120 million in 2024, a 20% jump from last year into affordable housing and services. The Housing First model, which gives people homes before tackling other struggles, is their cornerstone. A home is the first step to hope, a coordinator shared, her voice brimming with conviction. Kauai villages with 200 tiny homes built last year foster community. While plans to convert empty offices into housing for 500 by 2026 offer a bold vision. But the path is fraught with barriers. Bureaucracy strangles progress, zoning fights and permits delay projects for years. Oahu's homeless population grows 12% annually, outpacing the 50 new units built for every 100 new unhoused individuals. Residents often resist shelters near their homes, saying, "Fix it, but not here." With only 1,500 shelter beds for 4,000 people, dozens are turned away nightly. Frontline workers are buckling, with caseworkers handling 60 clients each, triple what's sustainable. "We're drowning," one admitted. City sweeps clearing tents to shine Waikiki's image, merely shuffle the problem, leaving people like Leilani wary of help. Can Honolulu bridge these gaps, or is it just treading water? Street Stories Homeless believes the answer lies in bold action and hearts open to change. A path forward. Honolulu's path out of its homelessness crisis sparkles with possibility, and at Street Stories Homeless, we're rallying for a paradise where no one is left behind.
Bread on the side? Okay.
The cornerstone is housing. Oahu needs 10,000 affordable units by 2030.
There you go, buddy. Let me get you some napkins.
Not just high-end condos with token low-income spaces.
Okay, enjoy. No problem.
In 2024, only 500 homes were built, far short of the 20,000 unit need.
That's parsley. Yeah. This is all the same, man.
We're moving too slow for people's dreams, an advocate said.
That's good, man. How you doing, brother?
By cutting red tape and overcoming community resistance, we can transform empty lots into thriving neighborhoods. Mental health and addiction services demand a revolution. With 60% of the unhoused facing these challenges, Oahu's one psychiatrist per 1,000 residents isn't enough. Mobile teams could deliver care on the streets, as James urged, "Meet us where we are." Vocational programs, with 80% of graduates finding jobs, prove change is possible. Education and training are game changers.
Whichever pack you want. There you go. There you go.
Malia's craft program, where 75% of 2024 participants found work, shows the way. Imagine coding classes or chef training lifting thousands and rebuilding my life, Malia said.
You want to bring the water back to me? Here you go, baby.
Yet the heart of change is us.
And then here. There you go, babies.
A 2024 poll found 70% of residents support shelters with services.
All right, babies. For your husband.
Let's channel that aloha, ensuring Leilani's son has a bed, not a bench.
April
do you want a job? Like, do you want to work?
I need my life. I got my spots on my wallet.
With bold leadership and collective heart, Honolulu can redefine paradise one home at a time.
No worries. And then where you want me to put your hiking bag? It has some snacks and protein cookies.
Redefining paradise. And at Street Stories Homeless, we believe Honolulu's homelessness crisis is a call to redefine paradise, not as a haven for the affluent, but as a community where everyone belongs. Leilani, shielding her son on a park bench, dreams of a home with walls, not worries. James, training to be a mechanic, sees a future beyond his tent. Melia, crafting Hawaiian art, weaves hope into her heritage. Their stories, shared through Street Stories Homeless, ask, can we call it paradise if they're excluded?
Enjoy, brother.
This isn't about patchwork solutions, it's about reimagining community. A 2024 survey shows 70% of residents support more shelters with services, yet 4,000 unhoused people compete for just 1,500 beds. True strength lifts up the vulnerable, a pastor said. Picture 10,000 affordable homes by 2030, mental health care without endless waits, and job programs empowering people like James. Bold action is non-negotiable. Governor Josh Green's $100 million housing plan in Cohale Villages spark hope, but red tape stalls progress. Street Stories Homeless demands leaders prioritize people, building streets of homes, not tents, where Malia's crafts shine in markets, and Leilani's son sleeps soundly. You're part of this. Your support, likes, comments, subscriptions, drive Street Stories Homeless to amplify these voices. Let's create a Honolulu where paradise means dignity for all. What's your next step?
Welcome to Street Stories Homeless.
This is Street Stories Homeless, where we unearth the stories no one dares to tell. Did you know that by 2025, Arizona had one of the highest rates of infertility in the United States? Or that the state pours nearly $1 billion annually into fighting this crisis, yet the number of people sleeping on the streets keeps climbing? At Street Stories Homeless, we're gripped by an insatiable curiosity to unravel this paradox. How does a state of breathtaking deserts and thriving cities leave thousands without a roof? What invisible forces are tearing lives apart? And could bold new ideas finally break this cycle? We're diving headfirst into Arizona's escalating infertility crisis, exposing its deep-rooted causes, the brutal daily struggles of those affected, and the daring solutions that might just rewrite the story. Hold your breath, in Phoenix is the zone. A staggering 1,200 unsheltered people huddle in tent cities, their makeshift homes dwarfed by glitzy skyscrapers just steps away. While the homeless population there exploded 450% in a single decade. If these untold truths spark your need to know more, smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to Street Stories Homeless to join us in bringing these shadows into the light. 1. The stark reality of homelessness in Arizona. At Street Stories Homeless, we confronted Arizona's infertility crisis head-on, where the numbers scream for action. Maricopa County's 2024 count found 9,641 people homeless, with 54%, over 700, unsheltered, placing Arizona fourth in the nation. In Phoenix's The Zone, 1,200 endure 106 deg feet without water or shelter. Their lives a testament to resilience amid neglect. Why is this crisis spiraling despite Arizona's efforts? The economy is a relentless force. Rents in Phoenix soared 177% since 2021, while wages inched up 8%, driving 3,200 evictions monthly in 2024. Arizona spends $933 million yearly on infertility, potentially $66,500 per person, yet Metro Phoenix has only 30% of needed shelter beds. In rural Apache County, 90% of the homeless lack shelter, starved of services. Are these dollars reaching the streets or lost in the system? Ricky's story. A father's hope amid hardship. Meet Ricky, a 42-year-old father living in a tent in Phoenix's The Zone. Each day he faces 104 degree heat where electricity or clean water, scavenging for food and dodging theft. You don't sleep, you just wait for morning, he says, his voice heavy but resolute. Surrounded by trash and without sanitation, Ricky's health suffers, yet he clings to a dream, finding stable housing and reuniting with his 10-year-old son. I want him to know I'm still his dad, not just some guy in a tent, he shares, eyes glistening. Ricky's story, featured on Street Stories Homeless, is a testament to resilience. I want to follow Ricky's journey to rebuild his life? Subscribe to Street Stories Homeless for updates on his progress and others like him. Two, living on the edge, conditions for Arizona's homeless. Arizona's blistering sun makes infertility a daily struggle. In 2025, Phoenix's 106 degree scorches the 1,500 unsheltered in zone, driving 700 hospital visits for dehydration in 2024 per state data. Clean water is scarce. Only 25% of encampments have aid stations, leaving many parched. Sanitation is a crisis. Without restrooms, 80% use public spaces, sparking 1,200 complaints in Tucson last year. Poor hygiene causes skin infections in 35% of the homeless, per a 2025 survey stripping away dignity. Safety is shaky in the zone's crowded tents, home to 1,200. Theft and disputes keep residents tense, with women, 30%, reporting 200 harassment cases in 2024. Mental health suffers, 40% show anxiety, but only 15% access mobile clinics. Relief is limited but growing. Phoenix's 2024 cooling centers helped 500 daily despite overcrowding. Tucson's water program reached 800 monthly, far from enough. Street Stories Homeless demands urgent action, 24/7 water stations, sanitation hubs and safe spaces. Arizona's homeless need more than survival, they need hope. How can we turn empathy into solutions for those on the edge? Maria's story, finding light in darkness. Maria, a 35-year-old former nurse, never imagined she'd be homeless. After losing her job and apartment, she now lives in a Tucson encampment. The hardest part is feeling invisible, she says. People walk by like you're not human. Maria scavenges for food and uses a tattered blanket for shelter, but she's enrolled in a job training program, hoping to reclaim her career. I'm not giving up, I want to help people again, she says with quiet determination. Her story, shared by Street Stories Homeless, reminds us that hope can persist in the toughest moments. What small act of kindness could change someone like Maria's day? Follow her journey by subscribing to our channel for long-term updates. Three, Why homelessness is skyrocketing in Arizona. To understand Arizona's crisis, we must dig into its roots. Housing costs are a primary driver. Rental rates in Phoenix have surged 177% in the past year alone, forcing low-income residents to choose between rent and essentials like food. I was one paycheck away from the street, a former tenant told Street Stories Homeless. The shortage of affordable housing is stark. New construction can't keep up with demand, and zoning laws often block low-cost projects. In 2023, Phoenix reported a 30% gap between housing supply and need, leaving thousands vulnerable. Population growth fuels the fire. Arizona's sunny climate and job opportunities draw thousands annually, pushing housing demand beyond supply. Cities like Phoenix and Tucson are bursting at the seams, with overcrowding driving prices higher. Substance abuse and mental health challenges also play a role, creating barriers to stable housing. In 2022, 25% of Arizona's homeless population reported struggling with addiction, often without access to recovery programs. Limited support services, healthcare, job training, or counseling are hampered by bureaucracy and underfunding, leaving many without a lifeline. James's story, a veteran's fight for stability. James, a 50-year-old veteran, lives in a mesa encampment after losing his home to rising rents. I served my country, but now I'm fighting to survive, he says. With no access to mental health support, James battles anxiety, but a local nonprofit recently connected him with a tiny home program. It's not much, but it's a start, he smiles. This story, brought to you by Street Stories Homeless, shows the power of small steps. How can we better support veterans like James? Subscribe to follow his journey toward stability. Four, the hidden faces, diverse stories behind homelessness. A mosaic of struggles. At Street Stories Homeless, we unravel the complex tapestry of Arizona's homelessness crisis, where diverse backgrounds collide in shared hardship. In 2025, Phoenix is the zone shelters 1,200 unsheltered individuals, from former teachers to laid-off factory workers, per city data. The 177% rent surge since 2021 has blindsided countless residents, with 4,000 evictions reported in Maricopa County last year. This crisis spares no one. Single parents, veterans, and recent graduates all face the same unforgiving streets, where 30% report surviving on less than $50 weekly. Systemic barriers amplify diversity. The reasons for homelessness vary as widely as the faces. Some lost jobs during the 2024 tech downturn, with Arizona shedding 10,000 positions. Others, particularly 20% of the homeless with disabilities, struggle with inaccessible housing. Only 5% of Phoenix rentals meet ADA standards. Language barriers hit hard too. 15% of Tucson's homeless, many recent immigrants, can't navigate aid systems due to limited bilingual services. These diverse challenges demand tailored solutions, yet only 25% of aid programs offer specialized support, per a 2025 state audit. Hope through inclusion. Emerging efforts show promise. Chandler's 2025 Diversity Task Force, serving 600 with culturally sensitive aid, pairs job training with language classes. Mesa's inclusive shelters, accommodating 400 families, prioritize accessibility. Street Stories Homeless shines a light on these hidden faces, urging policies that reflect Arizona's diversity, multilingual outreach, disability-friendly housing, and job programs for all. Without inclusive action, the crisis will deepen, How can Arizona embrace every face of homelessness to build a stronger safety net?
Mike, it's awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
5. Kids denied dreams, schools failing Arizona's homeless youth. Education out of reach. Street Stories Homeless exposes a heartbreaking truth: Arizona's homeless youth are being robbed of their futures by a failing education system. In 2025, 2,500 homeless students in Phoenix schools faced barriers to learning, a 25% rise since 2023 per district reports. Without stable housing, 50% lack reliable internet or study spaces, and 600 missed classes weekly due to no transportation. The 106-degree summer heat worsens focus, with 400 students reporting health issues from dehydration in 2024. Broken systems, lost potential. Schools meant to be havens often fall short. Only 20% of homeless students receive mandated support like free meals or tutoring due to understaffed programs. In Tucson, 350 homeless teens dropped out in 2024, unable to juggle survival and homework. Community colleges, key to breaking poverty, enroll just 8% of homeless youth, as 70% lack IDs or funds for fees. Arizona's 2025 education budget allocated $5 million for homeless students, but it covers only half the need, leaving dreams on hold. Small steps, big dreams. Hope flickers in local efforts. Glendale's 2024 mobile classrooms served 500 students with laptops and mentors, boosting attendance by 30%. Tempe Scholarship Program enrolled 200 homeless youth in trade schools, offering paths to careers. Street Stories Homeless demands systemic change, free buses, digital access, and flexible graduation paths. Every child deserves a shot at their dreams, and Arizona must deliver. What will it take to give homeless kids the education they're promised? Six, the ripple effects of homelessness. Arizona's homelessness crisis unleashes far-reaching ripples that reshape the state's social, economic, and environmental landscape, captivating the attention of communities statewide. In 2025, with over 14,000 people homeless, public safety concerns grip Arizona. 65% of Phoenix residents feel uneasy near encampments like the Zone, according to a city survey. Local businesses suffer, with downtown Phoenix losing $10 million in 2024 due to a 20% drop in foot traffic as customers steer clear of affected areas. The drain on public resources is jaw-dropping. Arizona's $1.1 billion yearly spending on homelessness, including $318 million for shelters, siphons funds from schools and roads, per the Common Sense Institute. Emergency services buckle under pressure, with Tucson's fire and ambulance calls for encampments up 15% last year, slowing responses elsewhere and sparking community frustration. Environmentally, the impact stings. Unsheltered populations without sanitation generate 2,500 tons of waste annually in Maricopa County, costing $7 million to clean in 24. Phoenix's parks, once family havens, show 30% degradation, pushing visitors away and dimming tourism's shine. Hope emerges through innovation. Mesa's 2025 waste-to-energy program transforms encampment debris into power for 1,000 monthly, proving ripples can inspire progress. Street Stories Homeless reveals these costs, calling for united efforts to heal Arizona's communities. How can Arizona turn these ripple effects into waves of positive change? Seven, social impact and public health, a heartbreaking cost. A community torn apart. At Street Stories Homeless, we expose the gut-wrenching toll of Arizona's infertility crisis, ripping at the heart of society. In 2025, with 1,200 unsheltered souls in Phoenix's The Zone, a 450% surge since 2015, parks and streets feel like battlegrounds, not gathering places. Families shun these spaces, leaving communities hollow as trust crumbles under the weight of despair. This isn't just a crisis, it's a wound that bleeds into every corner of Arizona. Diseases that hunt. The health fallout is devastating. Crowded encampments breed infectious diseases like wildfire. Tuberculosis infected 250 homeless individuals in Maricopa County in 2024, fueled by zero sanitation access in 90% of the zone. Skin infections plague 45%, turning simple cuts into nightmares, while clinics drown in $100 million of unpaid care. The human cost. Unbearable suffering unseen by those passing by. Minds and spirits broken. Mental health collapses under the strain. 55% of the unsheltered battle untreated depression or anxiety. Their minds trapped in a fog of hopelessness. Addiction grips 35%, with opioid use spiking in 2025, yet only 8% find recovery programs. The 106-degree summer heat amplifies every struggle, leaving bodies and souls scorched. Street Stories Homeless begs for action, mobile clinics, sanitation stations, and addiction support to mend these broken lives. Arizona's heart can't heal until every person is seen. Will you look away or help lift these souls from suffering? Eight, challenges and tensions in straight society, a society at war with itself. A fractured Arizona. Street Stories Homeless lays bare the raw divide tearing Arizona apart. In 2025, with 1,200 unsheltered in the zone, societies at war, neighbors pitted against neighbors over a crisis fueled by a 177% rent hike. Most demand encampments gone, blind to the $900 million Arizona spent in 2024 with little dent. This isn't just tension, it's a betrayal of our shared humanity, leaving the vulnerable to rot in plain sight. Health fears fan the flames. Public health nightmares drive the wedge deeper. Hepatitis has swept through Tucson's encampments in 2024, with 180 cases tied to poor sanitation, sparking panic among residents. Mental health struggles visible in 60% of the homeless, unnerved passersby who see chaos, not pain. Addiction, chaining 30% to drugs, fuels distrust. Only 150 access recovery monthly, leaving society on edge. These fears aren't just numbers, they're a cry for understanding.
Get my card, get my information.
Mending the divide.
Okay. All right, I'll see you guys soon.
Healing starts with truth. MESA's 2025 community dialogues, uniting 5,000 voices, cut by 15% through shared plans for housing and health. Street Stories Homeless demands more, open forums, health campaigns, and recovery programs to bridge the chasm. Arizona's strength lies in facing this pain together, not turning away.
You get what you want to eat. That's the point of being here, baby.
We can't let fear win when compassion could save us all. Can you help Arizona choose humanity over hate?
All right, no worries. Ketchup. We have brown stew chicken, curry chicken, and barbecue chicken.
9. Reclaiming spaces, transforming communities together. Public spaces in crisis. Arizona's homelessness crisis is reshaping its public spaces, and Street Stories Homeless is here to spark change. In 2025, Phoenix Park saw a 35% drop in visitors due to encampments, with 1,500 unsheltered in the zone straining resources, per city data. Improper waste disposal led to 2,000 cleanup complaints in Tucson last year, costing $6 million. The 177% rent hike since 2021 pushes more into public areas. As affordable housing lags, only 300 low-cost units were built in 2024 against the 3,000-unit shortage.
Take one pass
Community
around.
pushback and innovation.
There you go. Everybody brush teeth. Hold on, baby. I got you too.
Rather than displacement, communities are innovating.
Here, come. She'll give you some ice right here. Will you wait for me? No, I don't need to look through no.
Mesa's 2025 urban farm project turned vacant lots into food hubs,
So you can refresh up.
producing 10,000 meals for shelters while training 600 homeless residents in agriculture.
You better not be out here looking on Gucci largest. I know.
Scottsdale's mobile laundry units, serving 1,500 monthly, restore dignity and reduce public health risks.
No worries. All right.
These efforts cut cleanup costs by 20% and boost community pride.
Perfect. And then. Okay, baby, please get dressed.
But scaling requires more funding. Current programs reach just 30% of affected areas.
Y'all need some water. Well, next time you show me the jeans. Oh, wait. Where are they?
A collective vision. Collaboration is key. Flagstaff's 2024 resident coalitions, engaging 4,000 volunteers, cleaned parks and built shelters, fostering unity. Street Stories Homeless champions these models, calling for statewide initiatives, green spaces, hygiene access, and community-led projects. Reclaiming spaces means rebuilding trust and connection, not just clearing encampments. Arizona can transform its communities by working together. How can your town turn public spaces into bridges for change? Building solutions, a path forward. At Street Stories Homeless, we're diving into Arizona's dynamic fight against homelessness, where innovative solutions are lighting the path forward. In 2025, a $15 million state initiative aims to construct 1,500 affordable housing units in Phoenix by 2028, directly addressing the 1,000 Dunshulls and Sartered souls in the zone. These modular, solar-powered homes, costing 30% less to build, offer rents at $800 monthly, a game changer in a city where market rates soar past $2,000. Picture families trading tattered tents for vibrant, sustainable apartments, their futures rekindled. Grassroots efforts are weaving hope into communities. Tucson's 2024 Micro-Village initiative welcomed 300 residents into tiny homes, complete with job training that landed 70% in stable jobs. These villages, dotted with shared gardens, replace isolation with connection, proving small spaces can spark big dreams. In Mesa, mobile resource vans roll out hygiene and kits and medical care to 2,000 people monthly, cutting public health costs by 25% and delivering dignity on the go. Unity drives these victories. Arizona's 2025 Homelessness Task Force, blending nonprofits, businesses, and locals, channels $10 million in aid to 5,000 individuals. Flagstaff's co-op program, with employers sponsoring housing for 400 workers, showcases the power of private sector innovation. Street Stories Homeless amplifies these breakthroughs, calling for more statewide micro-villages, expanded mobile clinics, and robust partnerships. Can Arizona fan these flames of progress into lasting change?
It's only, 5-minute clip. You can sit here and watch it.
11. Innovative approaches and community power. At Street Stories Homeless, we're diving into Arizona's revolutionary battle against homelessness, where technology and community power are rewriting the rules. In 2025, Phoenix unleashed a mobile app that connected 3,000 unsheltered individuals to shelters, job programs, and healthcare, with free Wi-Fi hubs in the zone helping 70% secure aid in days, per city records. Tucson's 2024 QR code system at bus stops linked 1,500 people to meals, cutting wait times by 40%. These digital tools are lifelines, turning smartphones into gateways to stability. Community ingenuity is just as fierce. MES's 2025 Hope Fund platform, powered by 5,000 donors, raised $2 million for tiny home villages housing 400 people. Flagstaff's 3,000-strong volunteer network runs pop-up clinics, serving 2,500 monthly with hygiene kits and job counseling. These efforts, outpacing traditional funding, which meets only 30% of shelter needs, per a 2024 report, show Arizona's heart. Nonprofits like the Garcia Family Foundation fueled Neno's prevention research with $1 million in 2024, proving collaboration drives change. But bold ideas need scale.
Pretty good, how about you?
Only 20% of Arizona's 14,200 homeless in 2023 accessed tech-based aid due to device shortages, per Common Sense Institute. Phoenix's app demands $5 million to go statewide.
I remember that.
Street Stories Homeless calls for public-private partnerships to supercharge these solutions, envisioning a day when every Arizonan finds hope at their fingertips. Can technology and community grit end homelessness for good? A call for change. Igniting a movement. Men. At Street Stories Homeless, we believe Arizona's homelessness crisis demands a revolution in compassion and action. 2025, with 1,200 unsheltered in Phoenix's The Zone, the state's 450% surge in encampments since 2015 screams for change. Arizona spent $900 million in 2024 on homelessness programs, yet only 20% of funds reached prevention per state audits. This isn't just a numbers game, it's about reclaiming futures lost to systemic neglect. Empowering through resources.
I'm in the hood, but this is my area.
Solutions lie in bold, practical steps. Expanding affordable housing is non-negotiable. Tucson's 2025 plan to build 1,500 low-cost units could house 10% of its homeless population, but it needs triple the funding. Support services like job training and mental health care are a lifeline, yet only 15% of the homeless access them due to bureaucratic mazes.
No worries. Hey guys, go. No worries.
MES's mobile resource vans, serving 800 monthly with IDs and job leads, show what's possible when barriers fall.
Well, I pass out stuff every week. I passed out hygiene kits. Like, you should see some of the people who have been so grateful.
Uniting communities.
All ready to rock and roll. They even got a little spring.
Change thrives on collaboration. In 2024, Flagstaff's community forums rallied 5,000 residents to fund shelters, cutting local homelessness by 12%. Arizona must scale this. Public-private partnerships could unlock $200 million annually per economic projections. Street Stories Homeless amplifies this call, urging viewers to demand policies that prioritize housing, streamline aid, and foster unity.
Back over there, like I said, and drop a couple more bags off. I saw that other camp over there, all right?
The crisis isn't inevitable, it's a challenge we can meet together.
All right, let me
Will you join Arizona in rewriting this story?
Thanks. Say I document. I go around. Welcome, Tony.
You don't want no money? Nobody shakes hands
No.
anymore.
I stand outside for an hour and a half and just waiting and waiting for somebody to come out so I could go in.
What's that like?
Cold, really cold.